Well, to give us further insights into what happened in South Africa last night, the resignation of President Jacob Zuma, let's now bring in a trained Kenyan journalist and a former media practitioner, Bob Marjawar, living in South Africa. Bob, good morning.
Good morning, Waiga.
Good.
Very good to be with you this morning. Interesting times for us.
Getting you loud and clear. What was your reaction and the reaction of South Africans to that resignation?
It was interesting as we were listening to it last night. It was very emotional in time. It was an emotional roller coaster, so to speak, in terms of where it was leading to as the president made his remarks. Initially, as he began to speak, everybody was thinking, "Oh, there comes a resignation." But then there were some things he began to say that made it look a bit unclear. For example, he would say something around he pledged his loyalty to the constitution of the country, which some read it to mean that he doesn't have any loyalty to the constitution of the ANC, which is the party he belongs to. And in some cases, he would make comments around that it's a parliament, the National Assembly, that gave him the mandate and not ANC. And so we didn't know where that was going, and coming very close to just a few months ago when Mugabe also had a similar speech, and everybody hoped that he would resign, and then he ended up just rambling on and giving a lecture to the country. We thought that this was perhaps going to turn out the same way. But it ended up in perhaps what most people expected, which was that he would resign. And so I can say the mood in the country right now is almost ecstatic, but also cautious, because we've been here before, where there's always a change and hoping for the best, but then it turns out not to be. So, but there's a lot of optimism in the air, loads of optimism in the air, mostly because it's almost seen as if it can't go any lower from an economic sense, that the country had hit its rock bottom. Just to give you a sense, so when we moved here in around 2012, January 2012, the exchange rate of the rand to the Kenya shilling was 1:12. And by 2016, it had gone to an exchange rate of 1 rand to 6 shilling. That's how much the change has been for us, and especially for us who've got dealings back in Kenya and are always transacting in the rand. We've obviously seen the impact of that.
That's correct. We have even seen
exciting times. Looking forward to what comes next.
We've even seen that the rand is now at an all-time high, according to a news agency, Bloomberg. Let me ask you then, so what are the next steps? How does Cyril Ramaphosa assume the presidency?
So because he was already the deputy president, so automatically he is now the acting president. But then things have moved really, really fast. So the plan was to, if Zuma was to refuse to resign, then there was going to be a vote of no confidence today. And then there was going to be a swearing in tomorrow. But then because he then did resign yesterday, things are moving really fast. And there's a special sitting of the National Assembly this afternoon where Ramaphosa is officially going to be installed as the new president of South Africa.
Okay, so what next for Jacob Zuma? Is he going to face charges? Is he going to retire in peace like we saw in Zimbabwe?
It is very unclear, to be honest, at the moment, because one of the things we were hearing as they were negotiating the transition was that he had placed immunity as one of the non-negotiables, and that Ramaphosa was playing hardball in that sense, because there are some things that have happened in the last few months, especially if you know about the Gupta and the state capture story, that would have made it really, really hard for South Africa to stomach a deal that allowed him not to be answerable for some of those things. So according to his statement yesterday, he is going to still be an active member of the ANC. He's going to be available for any redeployment, as they call it, in any capacity. But he left in high spirits, intending to be part of the ANC. In fact, he called himself a disciplined member of the ANC.
Thank you so much, Bob Marjawar, trained Kenyan journalist, former media practitioner living in South Africa, for those insights. Again, we in Kenya keenly following the developments in South Africa, even as we await the swearing in of the party leader and the deputy president, who is now the acting president, Cyril Ramaphosa.